Hey, I'm Jason Catron, and today we're going to talk about powerful high notes with ease in your free vocal tip. So how do we do that? It can seem like one of the biggest mysteries in the world to get these high notes out, and inevitably most of us try to do it the hard way before we find it the easy and right way. You hear us around here at Singing Success say all the time that light is right, and that is true. If we can find the light coordinations and make light sounds, it's the doorway, if you will, opening into power and high notes. I'm going to suggest that finding your high notes is really just understanding which button to push, if you will. Now, you're like, what do you mean, what button? I don't have any buttons. The button's on the keyboard? Well, no. I want you to think with me for a minute, maybe a little differently than you are trying to find your high notes as is. So if we were to put a button on the body, I'm going to suggest that those of you who are having problems finding these higher notes with power behind them, you're kind of putting a button right here. So if I had a big button, I'm going to put it here. You know what? Some of you may put it right here. I was taught to belt. Growing up, I had great instruction. I grew up studying classically and musical theater. It was a great foundation for me. But most of my learning at that time was just really teaching me to push, to belt. So I got to a point, I didn't have any more. And again, my button was kind of here. And every time I would go for the big note, I'm just pushing on that button, you know, mom, 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 mom. And I felt it. It felt good too, to be honest. And I was making some really great notes, but I reached a ceiling. I couldn't go any higher. I began studying with Brett, and he started telling me these new concepts and ideas behind the voice. And first, I didn't want to trust it. That may be some of you there now being like, this can't work. You're just tricking me. Well, again, yeah, I'm going to suggest I'm tricking you right now. I'm going to try to get you to trick your brain to not put the button here or here and let the strain and the push, the stress, the energy, the emotion, everything lie in this area of your body, but we're going to put the button in our diaphragm, right? How many of you honestly could say right now that you probably don't ever think about your diaphragm when you're singing? You're just trying to make sounds. You're trying to emulate or demonstrate something that you're hearing one of your favorite singers do. We all do that, and that's okay, and we can learn from that. But when it comes to technique, helping us find some of these nuances and tricky spots of our voices, we think a little differently. And we have to lean into that technical aspect of how the voice works. So I'm going to give you a few exercises here, and I want you to play around with it. And as you do, first I'm going to demonstrate wrong. If you're putting the button here or here, this is what might be happening. Ma 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 ma. See where my button pushing's happening? You can see it in my face. You can hear it in my tone. It's like, all my energy, my expression, my emotion is lying right in here instead of here. From where? My gut, my core, deep within me. How many of you ever cried so hard that you felt like your gut could just explode, or that your intestines were going to fall on the ground? That's actually a good feeling to recall right now. Horrible in the moment because it hurt. This isn't going to hurt you, but I want you to put that energy, that emotion, that expression again, deep within your gut as you push on that button. Again, how are we going to push? Out and down. On what? The diaphragm. Think about this as you do it. So transfer your thinking, trick yourself here. Almost as if you control it, you own it. You're going to go ma 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 ma. Watch this. Ma 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 ma. You can sense that everything kind of open and that button was being pushed here, not here. I'm not saying that this is simple. All I'm saying to you is transfer how you think. Let your energy and your expression go from here to here. At some point, it's just going to become normal habit for you, and you're not even going to think about it. It's not going to feel like work. The reason you may not do it right now is because it may feel like you're working or overworking something that you know is supposed to be easier. Eventually, ma 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 you see it sounds so fluid, and through my expression it seems kind of might be simple or easy. That's the trick. It's not magic. It's a little bit of understanding which button to push. So I encourage you, play around with this. As you get to those high notes, let your energy and your push come down and out on your diaphragm. Open up, release, and expand the power, the resonance, and the sheer expression of that tone in your approach to finding your high notes.